I like to talk about how I bought my first house in San Antonio in 1987 for $59,000. If you take a look at how inflation has gone up since then, that would be about $110,000 today. It was a nice house in a nice neighborhood, Realtors and builders. I mean, you can't even touch a house in San Antonio today. Lorena, maybe that house today would sell for 180, maybe? What's happening in the marketplace? We talked about a lack of workers. Obviously, we talked about how land prices are going up. What are builders and realtors telling you about what's, other than people coming into the market, what's driving this?
I think it's also our job market is doing well, so I see a lot of not only influx, but also within San Antonio. They've owned their homes. They're ready for that second, the second move up or third move up for certain families, or they've been in an apartment for a while. So now's the time. People are starting to see the market is doing better. The economy is doing better. So again, it goes back to that confidence, and people are feeling like they can actually start making these large investments.
Greg, the Current obviously reaches a younger audience. Is there a concern among your readers and among your reporters that this may be pricing out your brand new college graduate who wants to come here and work for the tech sector? Are there concerns that $59,000-ish house doesn't exist anymore?
Yeah, I mean, there are those concerns, but it is complicated. I mean, I think, survey after survey of millennials, young adults going now into the workplace, and they're in the start of their careers. They don't, they're not married to the idea of home ownership like maybe my generation is. They're happy to rent apartments, a lot of them, and they don't have any immediate plans to go out and buy a home. That could be, I mean, this is a generation that started to come into the workplace after the Great Recession of 2009. So maybe that's tempering their outlook a little bit. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that they would see it as a crisis. It is certainly difficult. The barriers are higher for this generation of homebuyers than it was for mine.
And Richard, obviously, many neighborhoods have become apartment central. We're developing something we never really had before, and that is a critical mass of luxury apartments. Mm-hmm. How's that changing the real estate picture in this city?
Well, that's another factor in this is apartment rents are rising fast too. And part of that is because developers are building lots of apartments like that, upscale apartments. And in other cities, you've seen a bubble of those apartments that is broken. I don't think that that's happened in San Antonio yet. But developers have definitely been targeting millennials who are interested in moving back to the city, who have good jobs, and they've been building upscale apartments for them. And some experts have told me that they feel like the developers have neglected price points below that level, which is another problem that San Antonio is facing right now.
Lorena, what do your realtors tell the millennials and the iGens who might want to rent an apartment? I mean, what message do you have from them as to why homeownership is better for them?
We look at what their financial situation is at the time, because at the end of the day, we would want to do what's best for them. And I will say, though, when you compare apartment prices compared to, because of interest rates, a mortgage, its education is key. I think millennials can value homeownership and see the long-term financial strength that leads to. But I think one thing that I see over and over again is the education piece, and they want to see the value. Why is homeownership important? So being able to educate and tell them the value in it, you start seeing a lot more. At least I'm seeing a big uptick in first-time homebuyers.
Greg, are you seeing that as well, or are iGens generally wedded to apartments? What is it about home ownership that?
Well, yeah, and I mean, my impression is that, like I said earlier, I think you have a generation coming along that's just more comfortable with apartment living. They like the amenities of apartments.
And they also like the ease of presumably moving to another city.
Yeah, I mean, especially an apartment unit that has a mass transit component. If it's on a bus line, that's amazing for them. I just don't know that I just don't find that they're particularly wedded to the idea of home ownership, at least not at this stage in their lives.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us today. You've been listening to The Conversation Continues, and please join us again next week for On the Record.